Happy Friday, everyone. Welcome to the Hub. We are closing out February, and it's been a pretty exciting month, I'd say. Um, they were joined by a couple members of the SilkSuite crew, and I would say largely SilkSuite is what made February pretty exciting. They had an awesome launch. From what I've been tracking, I've been lurking in their Discord and following up on kind of just their success and what's been going on. For those that aren't aware, I just kind of pinned it in the Jumbotron. We've seen them do their second liquidity injection. It's a big numbers. It's a lot of zeros there, and it's just really good to see. I think the Dex is absolutely coming along, and with the launch of their actual like base layer governance token for the Dex, I think we're going to see a lot more functionality and offerings, such as different and more diverse pools, come around. But I won't speak on their behalf. We've got them to do that. But before we hand it over to Silk, Phil, how was your Friday?
Hey, super happy to be here. Beautiful Friday again. Totally fading the Canadian weather here. Staying inside, crushing it, staying in again. Beautiful way just to end the week. Proper show, proper time, proper company. Also, really happy to see the So Sweet Bros and Sis inbound. So yeah, that's going to be another awesome one, man. Appreciate the invitation.
Yeah, absolutely. Always love having you here. And Koza, you're here today. How are you doing?
Doing pretty good, man. It has been a great week. Definitely I always look forward to these spaces, these hubs every Friday. I think it's a really good way to wrap up the week. And yeah, I mean this week there's been a lot of H bar action, so stoked to get into it.
Yeah, the builders be building. And Fat Boy, thanks for joining us today. How's Friday treating you over the pond?
It's good. Yeah, we're doing good here. It's just 6:30 at night, so I'll eat after this. But yeah, so far everything's pretty good. It's still cold here though. Still cold. So
Yeah, I hear that. It was been raining here outside of San Francisco recently, but it's kind of warming up. And I appreciate you coming out here and joining us, even though it's kind of late in your evening. It's good to have you. What's up, Houdini? How's Friday treating you?
Oh, it's crazy. It's busy. It's been nuts since the launch, with launch stuff and collabs and, real life stuff and work and whatnot. But that's great, right? That's a lot better than sitting around spinning in circles. So yeah, definitely exciting. Thanks for inviting us to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, those are the good problems to have, right? Um, Kudos for you guys for kind of jumping on everything that's like needed, like CoinGecko functionality, Dex screener functionality. I think those things are pretty critical for Dexes to kind of get the notoriety and the mind share that they deserve. So I'm definitely excited to see you guys start getting tracked where you should be. And it goes without saying that we'll be getting you guys into orbit as soon as we can. We are cranking on this redesign, and once we kind of get our deliverables out and get out of this deadline, we'll be able to kind of conceive adding additional marketplaces. Um, so we could start. How has the liquidity injection been received by you guys? I mean, it's definitely enough in a big enough number to have your token be legitimate. That's for damn sure. And I think it's exactly
Yeah,
what
it's
you needed.
it's exciting, right? Um, so the liquidity injections, so we're about halfway through those, maybe a little ahead of halfway, but we're still going. And you know what that's about in large part is optics, right? Like anything in space. And it's about optics, not just with retail, but with what you mentioned before, Dex Screener, CoinGecko, CoinMarketCap, Kraken here and now. When you go to these folks, and we've gone to them in the past, and HP's gone to them in the past, and a lot of founders have gone to them in the past directly, you're not really taken very seriously because there's not enough liquidity, there's not enough numbers, it's not very exciting or attractive. So, um, part of the value of this liquidity is just that, like, hey, look at us, look at this thing right now. It's got, 3, 5, 7, 10, whatever $1 million in liquidity. It's harder to ignore that. So yeah, we hope that is helps our leverage getting these things changed.
Yeah, no, and I think you pretty much nailed it. I think it's pretty standard, even for like getting a token listed on, let's say, a centralized exchange. If that token doesn't have the volume that makes it worth it for that kind of platform in their eyes, right? We can all believe that our product's worth it, and that's valid. but for them, they've got their own kind of standard, right? So again, just kudos for kind of doing what you need to do to get tracked. I don't need to tell you guys; you're already fully aware like how good that is. And more than anything, I think you guys, and this is one thing that I'll always agree on, is having different solutions in the space only brings the space further up. So having a new Dex hit the scene, and it's not even new, right? You guys have been here for a year. Um, but getting that mind share and becoming more well known and understood and used, it's only going to push the network forward. So we'd love to see yet another Dex kind of hit the scene. I think it's a really good time for that for sure. And specifically with our own tokens, we're seeing more and more major HTS tokens get listed in on centralized exchanges, and they're kind of creating the pipelines and the rails for our tokens to get there. So what a great time to launch! Honestly, I think we've already had the giants on our network kind of pave way to make it easier for us to go play ball on the big platforms.
Yeah, and another win for us now is the Giants have taken that hit, right? Putting your tokens on centralized exchanges, doing whatever it is. Basically, you put up a bunch of your tokens for free or very little to be used to be able to be traded, and that costs something, against the market cap, against the value of the token. So, yeah, we're grateful to be in the position we're in. Also, where the market is. Had we moved forward, I think September was our first earliest target for token launch. Had we moved forward then, we would have seen, we would have rode the cliff down with everyone else. But where we are now, there's more chance to ride the rocket up, and there's less chance of another significant cliff down.
Yeah, I think you guys timed it very well. Personally, both me and Weston think that. So how has been the launch? How's the community been receiving it? What are some highlights that have been standing out to you or milestones that you guys are proud of?
Yeah, I mean, liquidity numbers, super proud of those. Those make total volume numbers moon too, right? So we moved in um overall about $2.2 million in 10 days into the ecosystem, into Silk Token, and there's been some collateral effects with that. So that's increased HSuite tokens TVL by 500K as well, right? It's increased, it's doubled Silk's liquidity, right? So we're starting to see that trickle down thing. So big numbers are exciting. And then the token itself, we launched. It's currently above the price it launched at. It's above the market cap targets we wanted to hit when we launched. I had estimated exposure and exposure versus liquidity. I had estimated the max loss we could have is about 3 to 4%, even if every token sold. We didn't see any of that. I think at most we saw just over 1% at sort of the highest sell-off times. But now we're on the other side of that. So that's all been super exciting. I don't, has anyone else ever seen a token launch that didn't dump at least a little bit in the next few days? Well, Silk Token didn't, right? It's up. Um, and that was all part of the plan. Super conservative. There's a scarcity to the token. The most any single sort of retail holder has is 5 million tokens. It's worth about $10,000. That's the biggest whale. So the distribution from that down to the smallest holder is a lot denser than typical on a token launch.
Yeah, no, I think you guys nailed the density and spread of the circulating supply on launch. That kind of minimal window between holders is really strong, and the super deep liquidity, right? Like it's a very stable token right now, and it's just really good. That instills a lot of confidence in the DEX layer itself, for sure.
Yeah, thank you. It's stability numbers. It's 80% pegged to H bar and 20% pegged to USDC. So that's, and then another 5% pegged to H suite. So that's the differential at current.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. Um, and I know someone went ahead and made a pool on Saucer Swap, and that's how the price started getting reflected in HashPack. So it's not, for those that are listening, it's not the true pool to be reading quite yet, but we hope to see that change on HashPack's end.
We on
I
it.
can't imagine it wouldn't.
It had to happen. It's free market. It's good
Yeah,
for the
for sure.
market. from the perspective of the tokenomics guy who's made 1,000 dynamic variables and thought about it for 9 months and tried to control the rollout. Fundamentally, I'm against it, but the other side of me is like, yeah, it's a free market; it has to happen.
No, absolutely, man. Had a big rig going, but it was crazy. So we've been tracking quite a lot of what's going on outside of the app and the efforts that you guys are doing to get SilkSuite to be that much more present. What's going on in the app? Is there anything that you can share with us that is kind of like a critical thing that you guys want to hit, or a major thing that you want to hit in app in the near future?
Yeah, so part of that relates to the new features. So previously, pool setup just reached out to us and we set up the pool for you as a founder. Now founders can make their own pools, right? And as long as it's paired with Silk or HSuite on one side, you can pair any other token on the other side automatically. And then when you make that pool, every pool that's made is eligible for rewards. There's no, oh, these ones get rewards and these ones don't. These ones get more and these ones don't. There's none of that. Every pool is eligible for APR rewards. Baseline eligibility is 1,000 HBAR, sorry, 10,000 HBAR in TVL. That's $1,000. So total liquidity, you got to have $1,000, and you got to do $100 or 1,000 HBAR worth of volume every month. So if you can do those things, everyone that provides to your pool will get some kind of return APY. So that's a big thing. That's very new. For years, and myself included, founders have made pools at Saucer Swap, thousands of them. There's thousands of pools over there, which is amazing. Props to them, at $50 a piece, plus or minus. And people have traded, provided liquidity, all part of pushing the token. Almost none of those pools get any return, any reward, right?
Yeah.
Which is fine. It's the way it is. Market. They don't do a lot of volume. But the opportunity now for every token founder to earn rewards, and for all their holders and supporters to earn rewards, I mean, that should be a huge win, right? And the way the APY is designed, um, it basically favors the smaller pools if the smaller pools do a good amount of volume versus their TVL, right? So it's the volume to TVL ratio. So if you've got a pool with $2 million in TVL, it doesn't do any volume, it's not going to get a huge APY. You got a pool with $1,000 in TVL that does $2,000 volume a month, that pool is going to get a huge percentage APY because it's factored against that 1,000 TVL, right?
Right.
They might get 100% APY over the year because it's doing so much volume against its TVL. Now, as people pile into that pool to get that reward, it's going to rebalance, right? And the APY is going to reduce and automatically rebalance.
Yeah, no, I think that's standard though. As it gets a little bit more saturated, it gets diluted, but that's just how that works.
Yeah,
It kind of
but
segues into
it's a little more
my next.
gamey than usual, which is what we're trying to do. Is make
No,
everything a
totally,
leaderboard.
totally. And I was gonna say that kind of segues into my next question about, what kind of main ways can you, not necessarily, um, how do I say this without sounding like negative, because it's not negative, but entice people that maybe are currently choosing to host their LPs on Saucer to come over to Silk. And I think you kind of answered that question by allowing smaller pools the ability to experience better APYs if they're doing volume. I think that's rad. Is there, I'm, where's my brain going? I'm currently thinking about how Saucer Swap offers V1, V2, and possibly upcoming V3 pools. um, do you guys see yourselves kind of operating in a similar way with a tiered pool structure? The only reason why I'm asking is because I'm not the biggest fan of a community-led, DAO-led, permissioned V2 experience. I don't think it's
Yeah,
modern enough for crypto, but that's where my brain is today.
yeah. I think we've run up against that DAO-led thing, both with Saucer and with Bonzo and with others too, where it's Part of the way we plan to incentivize tokens, larger tokens, sort of real utility tokens in the ecosystem to come in and make liquidity pools is we're offering to do liquidity matching with any real tokens with real TVL, right? Where we'll put up the Silk side, they put up their side. We provide that to two positions. We each hold one position. Therefore, we each get back what we put in, just half of the other party's tokens, right? But everything's in TVL, so it's good for everybody. Um, which is an easy win. It's free, it's cheap. We've also offered it to HashPack as well, Phil. But what we run up against is, oh, that sounds great. We'll have to, build a new city, populate it with people, build infrastructure, and then set it up for a DAO vote and see if it goes through. Okay, like cool, I get it, but I think there's a middle ground. There's a it'd be more efficient moving forward if there was a middle ground for everybody to make it through there.
Yeah, no, it's something been on our mind to do, and we've talked about the current DEX layout of the network, and it was probably maybe 2 months ago. So it was before you guys were really pushing. Although your DEX was already online, and me and Weston were looking at like aerodrome models. Um, I have to be really cautious of how I phrase this because I'm not trying to paint saucer swap in any way, but
Yeah, likewise when I talk about it, same.
no,
Like,
and that's totally
yeah,
understood. I get it, man. That being said, this network has only had one DEX, and it was basically their way or no way, and that's okay for the time being, I guess. But on we've
and they
already seen on
weren't they
other
weren't
networks.
abusive about it, right? So it's okay.
No,
It's
not at all,
okay.
right?
Yeah.
Like our whole backend and infrastructure is built on their APIs. They're definitely not being draconian, but we've seen more lucrative, innovative DEX models pop up, such as Aerodrome on other networks, and we were just running kind of high level conversations on, would a more profitable model for people that choose to host liquidity on that platform, would that be enough to get major platforms such as Hashback, Dobu to migrate off of Saucer Swap, um, and to maybe change the layout or shake up the layout a little bit more? Because again, kind of what I said earlier in the space is that more offerings on a network only make the network more robust. It's not a bad thing. It's just it's good conversations to have because people like having options at the end of the day.
Yeah, and remember, whatever, a few years ago, the big thing was like, oh, is this token decentralized? Is this thing decentralized? How undecentralized is having one API for the whole network for
Totally.
prices and like one vendor for each thing, right? One for NFTs, one for DeFi. Like, obviously, we need more. It's just, low hanging fruit.
Yeah. No. Said it. Couldn't have said it better. Um. ma- 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 ma.
I think also as well as like you said, if you've only got one, and again, I've nothing against anybody, but when you get more people coming here building more of these tools, it breeds innovation, it breeds competition. So you need that so that you don't get lazy as well. And there's always new things popping up. There's new things happening over here and different networks. And so if you've got somebody that does something good there, then why would you not want to bring it here? And so yeah, I think this is a massive thing for innovation. And you mentioned what would bring people across. I think one of the biggest things that could bring people across, because obviously, Hedera is still in very much a lot of beginnings of DeFi and stuff like that, is the fact that our token is, like you said, it's dense, it's stable. It didn't dip, it didn't dump, and it doesn't look like it's going to do that. Will we have hairy days? Yeah, of course, that happens in crypto. But I think people are going to look at that and say, well, why would I want to trade into a token that's stable and strong? And that is a big plus for us.
I think after the market for the last 2 years, especially, people are like, okay, we did the volatility thing. Let's try some stability for a minute, maybe.
Yeah, I think a lot of us are kind of like, okay, this bear is it's been a thing. It's still here, kind of. We're all a little worn down by it, I think. But yeah, no, totally. Right now, Silk is kind of serving as this bastion of stability, in terms of like the token itself, and I think that's phenomenal.
Yeah, it's exciting. I'm just glad it's working. It's been a lot of math on my my ledger for a while. So yeah, it's just big relief for me. Sort of stress is removed for the most part.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's kind of like putting a child out into the world, right? It's like this thing that you fostered for months, if
Yeah.
not years, and then now it's out, and you're like, whoa, okay, it's like learning how to walk. That's awesome, and it's currently walking. Great.
Oh, now it wants something. Oh, it just fell over. I guess that's gonna cost something. Yeah, exactly.
Sure, totally. Phil, do you have any questions? What's been on your mind this whole
I
week?
don't. What's on my mind is that I'm really happy to see those new initiative coming out. And to your point, Orbit just came into the same way, same fashion. For sure, it's just trading. I feel like when people try stuff, and that's absolutely awesome, especially around TVL, because when folks especially from the other ecosystem, and they see number goes up, and it went so well for you guys for SilkSuite, uh, it breeds innovation, man. It breeds also confidence. It breeds fucking trust. Sorry, I cursed there. It breeds trust on there, and it's really good.
Opium, man. Opium, baby.
I was just saying, it brings trust. It's so fun. That's what it does. And again, I was saying like Trade and Orbit just came into this way where you guys literally invented a new mind share of product, a venue, a vertical out of something that we thought. And again, big shout out to Saucer Swap, out of something that we thought was the whole pie. So why not try something else and try something up? And the more players we are inside the ecosystem, it's the same for us, right? For non-custodial solutions, it's the same thing for us, same thing for everyone. I think that's genuinely, like for real, that's how we grow, especially if there's liquidity, because liquidity is both king and queen. Yeah.
Yeah, no, well said. And crap, lost my train of thought. The
That's,
the user journey of users on this network, it's been basically like stonewalled at Saucer Swap. And what I mean by that is a user could come to the network. Sorry, I've got another big rig coming. Jeez, active day. So, we've had a lot of users on this network get stopped at Saucer Swap. And what I mean by that is you can come to the network, you can port over from a centralized exchange, you can hold on Kabila or HashPack. You can then maybe get a little bit more curious, move your H bar or play with your H bar over on Saucer Swap and swap for tokens. And like that's been the user journey. In the most recent times, we've seen Bonzo come up, so that's another step in the journey that a user can choose to opt into or not. And again, that's kind of where it's ended. So the nice thing with Orbit is that it then creates a next step, or even SilkSuite creates a next step where the difference between swapping and trading becomes really defined. And I think on the swap layer specifically, having more dexes step up helps that feature, that journey flow of swapping get even more robust and defined because now users have more options that are just not solely saucer swap. And to what you were just saying about how this network becomes more robust and more matured, it's by all of these people stepping up and like creating that journey for these users. So, I've always been saying for the last year or so and much longer that anyone building on the network kind of deserves kudos in any shape or form because it doesn't happen without you doing that essentially.
Yeah, somebody's got to go out there and take the bullet, take the arrow, take whatever. Um, it's a great opportunity to be able to do it. It takes a lot of people coming together, trusting each other uh, for it to happen. So it's a bit of a unicorn moment when these big things happen because it's very rare for a group of people, especially in Web3, to stay aligned, and stay sort of on the same path for this long.
Yeah, no, well said.
Yeah, I think it was a good thing about having another Dex and, like you said, other people, as you say, stepping up and building out these mechanisms, protocols, and places to trade, swap, whatever. I worked on a project across on Sui, and I don't know if anybody's familiar with Sui, but there's maybe about 4 or 5 dexes there. But the big one was Cetus. Cetus was the big dex. And, because they were the first ones out, and again, when I say this, this is no way me trying to impugn Saucer Swap in any way. I'm just giving as an example. Cetus was doing probably about, between 80 and 90%, if not more, of their DeFi. And then they got hacked. And suddenly the Sui network came to a complete halt for probably around about 3 weeks. 3 weeks of no trading. like barely any trading. And now I think there was other mistakes outside of Cetus's thing, because they solved that hack within a few hours, and they patched it, and they dealt with all. The problem is that every liquidity pool had been drained. I think it was north of 600 or 700 million was sitting in a hacker's wallet, and they were basically offering them millions of dollars just to send it back, but it basically disrupted Sui, and they were on the way up. Like, they were really on the way up. The project I was in was booming with money, and next minute, as soon as everybody opened up, everything dumped hard. And Sui has been complaining and trying to get back on their feet ever since. Now, again, I'm not saying that Saucer Swap is in any danger of that. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, it's that old saying, if you put all your eggs in one basket, there's going to be a problem. So having multiple dexes, competition, innovation, diversification of where you trade and hold your tokens, and all of these types of things is only good for the network. And so I'm using that as an example. Solana went through the same thing. They had one of their big dexes that was doing the majority of stuff. They got hacked, they got drained, and things like that. So these things happen. So as we are growing and maybe a little bit more in the shadows right now, it's good for us as builders to be reminded of that, and hopefully we don't repeat the same thing, the same mistakes.
Yeah, I mean, I think before I get to you, Houdini, just the more any network leans on one piece of infra, the harder it falls, if it falls, right? That's the gist of what's happening. And as soon as you started talking about the SUI thing, I was thinking about Harmony One. For those that were following Harmony One at the time, they were kind of changing the game of gamified DeFi through this concept of DeFi kingdoms, where all of the different facets of a DEX were being turned into a game. And it was amazing. It was like some groundbreaking stuff. Nobody had really been able to accomplish it yet. And that alone, it was basically just a DEX, but it was expanded into something so much more immersive than that. Because the network basically relied on that success of that DEX eventually got hacked and the network imploded. And it was like almost like heartbreaking because of how rad and innovative they were being at just their DEX layer of the network. And it serves as a perfect example that's kind of in a congruence with what you were saying about, when something is too reliant on one piece of infra, the whole thing can come down. And it's not like, again, we're not saying Saucer Swap's legit. They're vetted, they're doing everything right. But it's not true decentralization, and it's a total risk at the end of the day. What's up, Houdini?
Yeah, I was just going to give another example. We've seen it in HBAR twice now. HBAR DeFi was on its way up big time. I had 5 dexes running at one time: Pangolin, HeliSwap, Saucer Swap in the early days. And then that Uniswap exploit took all of them down, basically, except for Saucer Swap in retrospect. And then more recently, when Bonzo launched and then Serio launched for the lending protocols, there was another exploit there where they were able to leverage the two against each other, and both Sauce token and H-Suite token at that point decoupled and haven't really recovered since. So it's been a hard road ever since. But yeah, it's definitely, there's always the cautionary tale that keeps you up at night.
Totally forgot about the Sirio scab. It was brutal.
Yeah, and it
And
was never like rectified or like dealt with, so it really hasn't
Yeah.
turned around. So now's the time to do it, hopefully.
Yeah.
And I just kind of want to piggyback off of what Juno said, just in relation to, that's not real decentralization. I think one thing we're really passionate here about, at Orbit is just preserving the ethos of crypto. And with that comes the concept of free market. And, when you have one entity, with that much of the pie, there really does kind of abstract from that, from that concept of creating and fostering a free market. Free market doesn't mean that it can't be healthy. Competition doesn't necessarily mean that we need to have knives at each other's throats. But what it means is that people have the option. That we have to think about the user at the end of the day. We can't just think about ourselves as companies, as builders, as founders. We have to think about the people who are making that happen, and ultimately that lies in the people who are trading on our platforms, swapping on our platforms, storing their assets with us. So it impacts all facets of the system, and it's something that I think a lot of builders here. It's great to see that we take it seriously. And I do hope that in the future, the builders that are coming behind us follow suit, because they can definitely learn from some of the experiences some of us that have been here for a long time have been through.
Yeah, I think it's really freeing. And I've said this so many times, but it genuinely is my favorite part about what we're doing at Orbit and kind of our mindset stepping into what we're doing as a terminal. We would kind of be a little tone deaf if we were claiming to be the trading terminal of the network if we weren't offering every marketplace on the network. You know what I mean? So I know right now it's a limited scope, but at the end of the day, we are not being told who we can and cannot partner with or integrate. We're our own company. We want to integrate everything on the network because it serves the user more than anything to have a one-stop terminal where they have access to every pool on the network. That's what a terminal is, you know. So because of that, our ethos and our mindset stepping into it, we don't have to gatekeep. We don't want to be draconian. It doesn't serve the average user on the network to not be exposed to everything on the network, and that's a very freeing, collaborative place to be in, especially in my role where I'm setting up connections. I'm figuring out how we get people and when we can get people integrated. There's really no roadblock other than our small team. That's we're gated by the manpower that we have and the amount of hands that we have. What's up, Houdini?
Yeah, I just love what you're saying. Yeah, and I couldn't agree more. There's a lot less stress when you look at it like that too. But as an aggregator, that's obviously got to be the win, right? There's no margin if there's only one pool. Like it's just and the network needs volume. This kind of interaction makes volume. It's just a good thing for everybody.
Yeah, it would be like dishonest, honestly. You can't call yourself a trading terminal if you're not allowing the user to trade everything. And that's kind of been a big conversation that we've had over the months. It's not prominent now, right? We've defined what we're doing by now, but I guess the latest thing that we're trying to add is a page for USDC pools, because we will be kind of leveraging USDC in new ways, whether it be through Hype or the Bonzo yield options. And USDC is just going to become more prominent. And as we've seen with all this volatility, a lot of people like to hold their USDC. So it's kind of insane, in my opinion. It's not insane, but it's avoidable that, okay, you want to hold USDC in Orbit, which is the most valid thing ever in a volatile period, but then you have to swap out just to go make a trade with your stabled up back. So we kind of want to adjust that and make it a little bit more flexible where if a user is holding USDC during volatile times, they don't have to trade or swap to HBAR immediately just to go play ball. They'll be able to, trade their USDC in USDC pools within Orbit. So that's coming. It just got brought up in our Discord, so it's kind of fresh up in my mind. But yeah, I mean, it's you want to give the people what actually helps them at the end of the day.
Yeah, more self custody, more decentralization. That's all. That's all wins wins, right?
So I'm trying to think of like what our growing pains have been, at least since beta, and like give you guys a question around it. But if there's anything that's on your mind that you want to just highlight or share, please take the space.
Number of transactions allowed at one time is still the big limiting factor tech wise from most people's side. Um, encourage your Hedera developers to take another look at that batch transaction they unleashed, and maybe make it a little better.
Totally. I guess we could talk about pool creation. Are you guys seeing your user base go ahead and set up pools? What are you noticing them set up pools for? Is it users trying to make or at least start those major asset pools, such as I don't know, Dobu, things like that? How's that going?
The major players one is a little slower. We've mentioned we've hit that sort of, we'll have to take it up with the DAO and make a proposition and that kind of thing. So not negative, just not super fast.
Yeah, it's not
We
super
have
moving.
talked to Dovu as well. similar sort of response. So, but again, our whole rewards and idea is to reward the smaller pools and the token founders. So we've seen more of that transaction with founders making pools, as a way to start earning something finally. So that's good. We've been live with that for 9 days now. So people are learning. People are asking a lot of questions in the Discord. You guys see that. So that's good. We're seeing a huge tick up in interest, activity, number of wallets using the thing. We did the same sort of rewards where we analyzed volume and everything last year. Um, and we had a certain number of wallets participating month to month. It was 60 to 120 wallets already. With the token launch, we have almost 300 traders participating, and eligible for rewards. So that's already a big tick up. It's just sort of number of different wallets.
No, that's awesome. And just finding a niche, right? It sounds from this conversation, which is great because I haven't actually put two and two together yet. But tackling creation at a founder user level of pools, that's really strong, dude. That's a great intro for most people that are actively using the network fall into that crowd. I would say the bigger giants are far and few. We have like you can count on one hand how many we have on this network right now. So I love to hear that. Truly.
Yeah, and the Giants, I would hope they see what's going on. And if they do, at some point it'll click to them and be like, oh, we're at the bottom of the market and we have a chance to create huge TVL really cheap right now with Silk. At some point that'll click in people's heads. So yeah, I'm hopeful.
Yeah, I mean, I think you kind of named it right. Like DAOs can be great. They can also really delay innovation and just kind of decision making. For or for better for worse, right? It is what it is. I've never been the biggest fan of any DAO system. I think many times a DAO isn't actually necessary, but it does allow the average user in that protocol to feel more involved and important, and that's valid. It's totally valid, you know.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I love the idea of a DAO, uh, but this is going to be a horrible reference. Don't hold me to this literally, but it's sort of like socialism, right? The idea is great, just in practice, it kind of hasn't worked out. Um,
Yeah, that's good.
Internally with Silk and the token, everything is multi-sig, right? So it's like a small DAO, right? You have to get this group of people. You can't be doing crazy stuff, or they just won't do it. So, but yeah, it's somewhere in between. Because I want the governance thing to be a part of it. It has to be, right? It's important, but
yeah.
fully, I think it does make things hard to move.
Well, it kind of plays into this like almost philosophical discussion that I read into here in the Silicon Valley, where CEO. This is going to sound real capitalist for a moment, but
It's hard not
CEOs
to
over the last
sometimes when you're talking about
no,
it.
totally, totally. Like over the last 15 years, the CEOs of major companies here in the Silicon Valley have all basically kind of realized and ended up in the same spot that the people working for them, under them, at their companies, the blood of these companies, while they are important, they kind of don't necessarily know what's best for a company at like the highest capitalist level, and that's not it's just the reality of working for a CEO or for a committee at the top of a company. You both parties, both the worker and the people running the ship, have two completely different mindsets. And I think the whole game of modern employment is balancing that. But at the same time, CEOs have basically come to an agreement that they don't know what the company needs. Even if they do, even if they're critical infra, they are not thinking about it in the same way that, let's say, I don't want to use the word shareholders because shareholders really limit
Yeah,
the
it's
scope
not.
of where a company's
Yeah,
going. But it's this borderline disconnect that's really a fine dance, let's say. And that's kind of like a good application to where DAOs fall is it's like you want your user base to help steer the ship, but we've seen it so many times where the user base prevents the ship from being steered. And it's like, okay, well, now we're kind of being held back by our user base that let's say there's a crew within the DAO that has a large majority voting power, and they're not necessarily voting for the best interest of the DAO, they're voting for the best interest of their bags. And that just is the reality that all of this falls into, both in crypto and outside of crypto. And it's a dance.
Yeah, and to be fair, on both sides, most everyone's voting for their bags, which is it's just the
Yeah,
mindset
true
that
that.
everyone's been taught that's the way to do it. So we gotta shake that up a bit. And then to your point, everybody that's here in crypto came here because they, for whatever reason, they weren't satisfied with the way things were in traditional finance. So why would we model
Yep,
crypto after traditional finance in any way, shape, other than to look at it and say,
totally.
let's not do that? Like, and that's what we're doing, and you guys too.
Yeah, it's kind of like, okay, let's sign up for round two, as if it's going to be any different
Yeah,
because we're calling it a different
yeah.
name or
Let's
something.
just
No,
stack the
totally.
wreckness on ourselves. Yeah, no.
Yeah,
Totally.
I must admit I'm the same. I like the idea of a DAO. I like the whole sort of kumbaya. Everybody gets together and we make a decision, move forward, blah blah blah. But most of the time, I find it to be cumbersome, slow, and honestly, without trying to offend anybody, I find most people that are buying in crypto to be stupid. You know, they don't know how to hold their bags. They don't know what marketing is. They don't, most of these guys are still doing, using an abacus half the time. So I
An
I
abacus.
think it's good to have. Look, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of smart people that are in crypto as well, and a lot of great holders. All the opposite of everything I've said. That is there clearly as well. You know. And here's the thing: it's good to take their advice because they may come with something because they came from a different network, and they'll present something. You're like, oh, I never thought of that. That's a good idea. That's fine, but I don't like the idea of maybe some sort of dynamic DAO or something, because you just don't want to get locked in where then, like as Houdini said, you just get stuck and you're trying to move, but you're on a voting system, or it's getting leveraged by the biggest bag holders. And I agree with it 100%. Most people are always going to think with their bags. They're just going to think with their bags. Is this going to, is my APY going to change? Am I going to get less?
Totally.
Oh, well, because I've heard people say, well, if we do this, we'll get more people coming in, even though it's diluting it a bit, but we'll get more people, so you should make more money in the long run. And everybody's sitting going, yeah, I don't know about that. I've never made money in the long run. I just want to keep making what I've
Yeah,
got.
right.
It's
Totally.
better to, the devil we know than the devil we don't, sort of thing. So it's all great. It's all a great idea, but I'm yet to see it really work anywhere. I'd rather have, somebody who's got expertise making decisions.
Yeah, it's a lot of fair and few, and or far and few, and I couldn't agree more. I think honestly, like most users that step into crypto take for granted that they can just hop in and find opportunity because of the decision making of someone else. And I would say largely, especially in Web 2 solutions and offerings, most people are used to that, right? Like they step in, they find something they like, and they don't really have to think too much further. And that's not a bad thing. It's kind of a neutral topic, It's just it it allows people to plug and play, and there's a lot of value in that. It simplifies everything, right? If the average person had to be thinking about decision making from the same level that a company is, sure, everything might be a little bit more aligned, but it's also just not realistic because again, kind of what you were saying, everyone is here for their own interests, and you don't fault the user for that. That's why they're here. That's your user. That's how they even got interested in you. Um, it's just this dance, right, that we're all kind of experiencing. But it's not a bad thing. I can't reiterate more that this conversation we're having isn't a negative. It's just a very fun, neutral part of crypto and in business more than anything. Trying to think of what I could ask you in terms of kind of what's coming. Do you have any like new features? I haven't I've been staying up very late focused on this redesign. But do you guys have like a new feature within SilkSuite that you're kind of excited about?
Um, So pool creation by itself, but deep permissionless pool creation. The fabric claim. So we've been dumping out fabric points for a year, and people were like, oh, "What's this worth?" And we say nothing. Well, now it's worth something. The fabric claim is going to end in a few days. It's been going for 2 weeks or almost 2 weeks. Um, that was 55,000 USD worth of silk token that people are getting now. They get to redeem their fabric for that. What happens with that is the fabric comes back to silk, and then when the claim ends, we start giving it out again, right? And then in 6 months ish, open the claim again and do the same thing. So that's another one of those engagement GameFi sides of it. And then permission.
I see your analytics push
Yeah,
for your portfolio.
I've
That's
got
big.
six pages of amazing analytics. I love that stuff. So it's in beta. It's what it does is one page, it shows you the dynamic APY to the minute, fetches all the network data and volume data, and it shows the pool's APY dynamically for the moment on a 30-day moving average. So rewards are every 30 days. So the APY is 30-day moving average. And then you can throw your wallet in there, and it'll show you for every position you have how much silk you're scheduled to earn, per day, per week, per month, all that kind of thing. So that's one of the tools that's very exciting. The other one, GameFi wise, is the trader board. This tool tracks all the transactions on the DEX, and then it weights every wallet by volume and how many transactions they did. So that's how I know there's like 300 traders right now. So it weights them 1 to 100 based on how much of the volume the whole DEX did, how much each wallet did, and then it divides that against an allocation of fabric token to automatically weight all those rewards for everybody, and it shows it live and in real time so people can track their rewards. So that's super exciting. And then beyond that, we're showing every transaction on the DEX. You can scroll through them, search through them, filter through them. Full page for analytics about the Silk token specifically. So that'll show all holders, holder distribution, TVL ratios, margins, all that kind of thing. And then another page, which is super fun, is the escrow tracking page. So Silk sold some escrow NFTs a couple months ago. That was sort of like the IPO round where people could get in, commit to a number, an amount of Silk token at a discounted price. Discounts ranged from 6% to 15%, depending on how much you got. And you got one of these super cool animated Silk passes, NFTs. And now you'll be able to track your NFT. So it's all by serial number and wallet ID. You can filter, but you can see, okay, this Silk Pass serial number has earned this much. It has this much remaining to be earned over this much time. So yeah, I can't wait to roll that out. What I was waiting on was to get the APY calculation closer, and that happened last night. And now it's working well. So I'm just gonna do some double checking, and then we'll probably see a post from me trying to explain the dynamic APY and sharing that tool. I explained the trader rewards a couple days ago, so every couple days I'll try to explain something new.
Oh, that's great to hear, man. Analytics are just such a valuable data point, right, for our user base, and it kind of brings me to my next question. How, not how, but do you guys think it's within your scope to not just offer platform analytics, but analytics for the user? So, like, for not necessarily a trading portfolio of the user that's using your app, but I mean, I guess it's kind of a good high-end abstract conversation. We've seen Saucer Swap really dive into hosting their own wallet and being kind of a fully fledged contained ecosystem where something like that, like a user's portfolio, falls into their scope. Um, Not asking if you guys plan on doing the same thing with the wallet because honestly, I have a lot of feelings about Saucer Swap pursuing their own wallet personally, but
Yeah, I think
do you
it was
think
probably a push from the developers. It's just harder
yeah,
to integrate with someone else's wallet when you're doing that much, right? I mean, we've experienced some of that too. And you've probably seen HSuite has a wallet in beta with full portfolio tracking and stuff in it.
yeah,
Um,
no, the cross-chain wallet push from HSuite, the one stop power wallet almost. Pretty exciting times to see that.
Yeah. So it's, you know, yeah, I have feelings about it too. From a user side, a person side, it'd be nice if everybody just could use the same wallet. I don't know, it worked out. It's hard to put that much pressure on HashPack, to be frank, just to develop all that stuff for everyone else with with a lack of sort
Totally.
of like fundamental infrastructure that would make it easier for them to do. So it's a sticky
Yeah, no, I
wicket.
couldn't agree. But again, like, do you think a user's portfolio or portfolio analytics for the user, your users, does that kind of fall into your scope? Because
I
it's something that we're looking into with Orbit.
I think it does, just because I like it. So you'll
Yeah,
see some of
totally.
that in the tools I build. There's always a page where you can just enter your wallet ID and it'll show you all the relevant information. I've already built a couple different portfolios, so um, yeah, we would look. But the other side of the dynamic is, do you want to clutter up your specific product's interface with that?
Yeah, your use
So
case. Yeah,
that's why I've always done sort of statistics, the analytics, the wallet searching, the portfolios. I do all that over under like the please don't stare hat, just to keep it separate. It means it can be a little more flexible, and I can develop in public a little bit more easier,
sure.
and sort of take some of that like worry and support off of the Silk side. If we put it in the D app, well then there's expectations for it that are different if it's a third party.
Yeah, no, well said. Well said. I'm thinking of just ways to differentiate between all of the kind of projects and protocols on the network because
Yeah.
SaucerSwap's doing XYZ through A, like all of the things right now, and that's fine. But there's very niche parts of these use cases, whether you're a terminal, whether you're a DEX, whether you're a lending platform, where you can provide a specific point that possibly others aren't, and that alone creates a reason outside of your use case to come and use your product. And I would like to see more people kind of gunning for that, right? It's like you don't really want to replicate something else on the network and then hope that people just migrate, but creating reasons outside of your specific use case, but still kind of fall into your scope that align with your scope, that create really sticky kind of situations for users to stay.
Yeah, and it's just look for ways to provide value, right? Maybe it's not direct value. Maybe it's something you're not directly selling, but it keeps people in your thing, right? Yeah, like my portfolio tracker, I think it's still the only place in the ecosystem that aggregates all the DEX, it aggregates HashPack, IFPS, Centex, NFTs, Saucer Swap, pools, and all that. But like, that's just stuff that's not going to bring direct revenue, but it builds trust,
Yeah.
and gives more value to people.
Yeah, one thing that we're keen on when leveraging third party stuff, um, such as let's say like bubble maps, when we choose to bring in bubble maps for our charts, or for our user holdings. Um, Being able to like integrate a third party solution but distinctly have it be branded as a third party solution lets you incorporate something like portfolios for users in the app that's still completely separate, right? So we're looking into ways of that, but based off everything you've said, and I've checked out please don't stare, it's phenomenal. Yeah, you're on top
Yeah,
of it,
check
dude.
the V2 um, wallet stalker, basically, you could call it. That thing is pretty sweet.
Yeah, we are coming up at the end of the hub here. But if there's anything that you guys want to drop or share, please feel free to. Next week, we're going to be talking about the rewards page redesign because it's pretty rad. We're really excited about where it's coming along. We just kind of finished the back end build out of cashback and referral rewards. We are currently testing it on testnet. And we had a pretty awesome discussion amongst the team yesterday where we all kind of reached alignment, and we're feeling really good about it. We were initially going to roll out this feature using HBAR. However, because we have the Orbit token planned, uh, we're actually going to wait. We're going to show the foundation that the code is built, it's working, but we're going to wait until the token launches because we've realized that there might be a point of friction if we get our whole user base to be getting HBAR as a reward and then we swap to the Orbit token as a reward. That might just not translate super well. So we're going to just do the token. We're all aligned that we want the token to be the rewards layer of the platform. It makes sense. And I don't think it's going to, what I just said doesn't delay the token launch by any means. It's just a alignment decision amongst the co-founders of how we're doing it. We don't want to do that HBAR to Orbit swap or switch down the road. But that's what we're going to be diving into next week.
Look forward to it. I like that you guys are all the things you do. It's about the way you do them, right? You do them a little bit differently. You think about what it's going to cause, what's going to happen. So I'm excited to see it.
I feel like a lot
Yeah,
of design
that's
is
going to be awesome.
figuring problems that you want for your platform, which is a fun thing to even discuss and think about.
Yeah, and you've positioned
Um,
it yourself as like the expectations are. Yeah, we're gonna like feel it out and change, which is beautiful. That's I love that.
yeah, there's definitely a lot of flexibility being currently the only people pursuing a terminal. It's, we can look at the terminals that have come before us, but we absolutely have to adapt what's been done on something like Solana to the HBAR user base. And it's a fun conversation always. We don't really ever have to sacrifice something. We just have to really think about, does a feature over on Solana make sense on the current state of HBAR? And by and far, the answer is no.
I'd
So
agree.
it does kind of
I'd
create
agree.
it allows us to create a modified terminal that actually serves HBAR's interests a little bit more. But yeah, huge thank you for you and Fatboy and Houdini to step in. I saw Bob and Nick and people pop in earlier, and Nick's here, Cosmic, everyone for joining. Just thanks for showing up. It was really good to talk to you guys, and I'll be in contact with you, Houdini. We're on good terms. I'll be reaching out as soon as we can to get you guys integrated. It's definitely on our radar.
Yeah, man, appreciate it. Yeah, and our API has been changing, the last couple of weeks anyway, so it's starting to settle in. So we're closer and closer to ready to.
Yeah, no, it's like a big thing for me is, the current state of Orbit with being in beta and not really having a defined UI and UX experience. It's like, sure, we could have prioritized integrating you guys, but it's not even like, it's
Like
almost a bad look
who's
for
it
you
gonna
guys
help
to
just
be.
show low numbers to everybody? Yeah.
It's not even low numbers. It's like our UI, like our experience for the user in our beta isn't super flashy. It's not super sexy. So it's like, sure, we could offer more platforms in orbit currently, but like it's not drawing people in, and we knew that, right? We just need to get our beta out. So we're doing what we need to get the app to really stand on its own first. And it'll make a lot more sense, and it'll actually be like more of a power tool where people are like, oh yeah, I want to use that clearly, and it offers all of the marketplaces. So it's all coming. It's all coming along. We're ahead of schedule right now, and we're definitely excited to reach out to you guys soon.
Awesome. Sounds good.
All right, guys. Thank you again for showing up. Have a lovely Friday. Perhaps touch grass. I will not be touching grass this weekend.
No grass. No grass. Cheers, guys.
See you, Phil. Have a good weekend, man.
Cheers.
Cheers.